what if the path to, say, global peace wasn't about strength or self-interest, but something maybe more radical, like sacrifice?
That's a provocative question.
It is. And today, we're diving into some really thought-provoking ideas from a sermon by the Korean evangelist, Reverend Myung. It's called America in God's Providence.
And providence, just for context, theologically speaking, that's about God's guiding hand, his purpose in history.
Exactly. So our mission here is to unpack Moon's unique viewpoint on, well, the state of the world, what he saw as the roots of conflict.
And crucially, the surprising role he envisioned for America in achieving a unified, ideal world. It's quite counterintuitive in places.
Right.
And it's worth saying, this isn't just a recap of a speech. We're looking at an analysis that really challenges conventional thinking.
Definitely.
It offers this distinct theological lens on history, on society, pushes us to ask these deep questions about, what is the goal of human history? Can we even get to an ideal world from where we are now?
And look, we know we're dealing with a sermon here, so it inherently has a viewpoint.
Of course.
But we want to assure you, our listener, that this deep dive is focused squarely on extracting the core ideas, the arguments, impartially.
Exploring the viewpoints presented in the text. Not endorsing, not refuting, just understanding.
Okay, so let's get into it. Moon starts with this, well, almost unsettling observation.
Yeah, it's like a diagnosis.
He argues humankind's history just lacks a clear goal. And you look around, the world is clearly far from ideal, right? Far from freedom and peace.
He really questions if an ideal world can actually emerge from the path we're on. It's a direct challenge.
A challenge to our whole reality, almost. Like there's a fundamental disconnect.
And what's striking is his diagnosis of the root problem. Division. Just fundamental, pervasive division.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Nations, races, sure, but also within families, and even, he says, within individuals.
That mind and body are divided.
Exactly. It's a really comprehensive view of conflict. It's not just out there, it's in here too.
That's quite a claim division even within individuals. Does he suggest how to fix that? Or is it just part of the problem he's outlining?
Oh, he absolutely implies a path to fixing it. His logic goes like this. If God is absolute, unified,
then this divided world couldn't have come from him.
Precisely. So he concludes, in the beginning there must have been something wrong. Some kind of wrong motive right at the start.
A wrong turn.
A wrong turn that set history off course. And for us, the insight is how this reframes history not just chaos, but a deviation from an intended unity.
So what was this original wrong motive?
He attributes the degradation of mankind, as he puts it, to the attitude of sacrificing others for your own benefit.
Okay.
He uses the example, a powerful one, of the archangel sacrificing Adam and Eve for personal gain, and argues that this pattern just spread.
From individuals.
To families, to tribes, to nations. It's a chain reaction of self-interest. He sums it up quite starkly. Evil wants to make one world by beating others.
Wow. Okay, so then he looks at the world stage, at the big powers of his time.
Right. And he asks, can we find any one nation that can take responsibility for building an ideal world?
And his answer?
Pretty direct. I think most people living now in the United States cannot lead this world.
Yeah.
Nor is there anyone in the communist world who can do so.
That's quite a statement, especially back then. How does he back that up?
He says both lack the essential ideal, the ideal to love the world more than their own country.
So it's not just about policy, it's about the underlying motive.
Exactly. He saw the Soviet Union wanting to center the communist world around itself, Moscow. He saw Red China wanting to center it around its own people.
Self-interest on a national scale.
Yeah, and he believed that self-interest, even for a superpower, was just an absolute barrier to true global unity. Does that still resonate today, do you think?
It certainly makes you wonder, doesn't it, if even the giants are driven by that.
Yeah.
What hope is there? It's a bit bleak unless there's this pivot he talks about.
It is bleak in that sense. He says flat out, no prosperous or peaceful world until the American people and the Soviet people can sacrifice themselves for the benefit of all mankind.
But there is at present nothing leading them to do so.
Ouch. Yeah. He even suggests America and Russia seem ready today to throw away the whole world to save themselves. It's a really strong critique of self-preservation winning out.
So stepping back, the big picture here is nations putting themselves first, even leaders, just can't build a unified world. It's like a built-in flaw.
A foundational flaw, yes. Not just a bad strategy. And he also takes a quick shot at communism's ideology.
The mine is mine and yours is mine idea.
Right. He says because of that inherently self-serving principle, communism will not last long.
Yeah.
Because it embodies the very division he's identified as the core problem.
Okay, so if that self-serving path is a dead end, what's the alternative? He says we have to go back to the starting point.
Correct. The original motive.
But how? If not by conquering or dominating. What's the method? It sounds like turning everything upside down.
It really is.
Yeah.
He introduces God's opposite way. Sacrificial love. Service.
Oh, yeah?
He contrasts them starkly. Evil asks everything and everyone for itself.
But good lives for others.
Exactly. And the core principle for good, he sums up in this amazing phrase. Mine is yours, and yours is the nations, and the nations is the world's, and the world's is God's, and God's is mine.
Wow. That's a cycle of giving. It completely reverses the wrong motive.
At every single level, yeah. Individual, national, global, divine.
That phrase, mine is yours, that really hits home. And then he links this directly to God's nature.
He does.
So.
He defines God's love as absolute, as sacrificial. He says God is the greatest love, precisely because he sacrificed those he loved most, his children, implicitly for the world.
And he brings in Jesus here, too.
Yes, pointing to Christianity as central because Jesus Christ gave himself as a sacrifice for others, even praying for his enemies on the cross. That's the ultimate example for Moon.
Radical, self-sacrificial love.
That's the term. And he stresses, for God's providence, his plan, to actually unfold. Individuals have to reverse course.
Abandon self-interest.
And love God by sacrificing for the world. He even cites figures like Confucius, Buddha, Muhammad alongside Jesus.
Oh, interesting. So not just a Christian idea.
He presents it as a universal principle. These figures live for the whole world, not just themselves or their own people. It's a path to the ideal world across different traditions.
Okay, so then he brings it specifically to America.
Right. He argues, quite pointedly, that God purposed the United States to fulfill the mission of the sacrificial nation.
A specific divine mission.
That's how he frames it. He looks back to the Pilgrims, building churches and schools before their own homes.
Prioritizing the public, the collective good.
Yes, putting greater stress on the public purpose than the private purpose. And he calls that the backbone of America's prosperity, a powerful founding vision.
But then comes the critique of modern America.
A sharp one. He says America is now far away from this position.
Why? What went wrong in his view?
Too much stress on individualism. Leading, he says, to a loss of collective virtues, national love, family integrity, peace itself.
He uses that image, you become like hawks and blow where the wind blows. Losing direction.
Losing stability, yeah. It's a warning that unchecked individualism might actually erode the foundations of unity and purpose.
And he connects this to religion too, doesn't he? The state of the churches.
He does. He observes many American churches are vacant or just attended by old people, lacking fire, lacking that traditional spirit.
And the implication is?
For him, it implies God and Jesus have sort of withdrawn, making those churches unable to be channels for God's providence anymore.
So a spiritual crisis underpinning the social one.
That's the link he makes, which leads to a pretty stark warning.
If America doesn't fulfill this mission,
This responsibility to love the world at the cost of herself, then God must search for another nation.
wow. He really frames it as a potential loss of destiny.
He uses the analogy of John the Baptist. America was meant to prepare the way, but is failing because of self-interest.
So America's not just being critiqued, it's being warned it could lose its unique God-given role. That's heavy.
It is. It suggests such a high calling is conditional.
So what's the fix? How does America get back on track, according to Moon?
A new movement of spirit. It needs to follow the Spirit of God and the truth of Jesus Christ.
And sacrifice itself?
Yes. Individually, familially, nationally. All for the greater good of the world.
Which includes things like foreign aid.
Absolutely. Continued. Even sacrificial foreign aid. He believed that would earn respect, build bridges, gain support. It's about internal and external transformation.
Okay, zooming out a bit, he sees this lack of sacrifice globally as significant.
Hugely significant. He argues that the inability to find a nation, a family, even one person truly willing to make these sacrifices, that indicates the last days.
Meaning
Meaning the world is at a critical point, a crossroads between sticking with self-interest, which leads to destruction in his view, or embracing this path of sacrificial love.
And this is where he introduces his own movement, the Unification Church.
Correct. He presents it as being specifically formed to, quote, develop the providence of God. How? By modeling this exact spirit,
Sacrificing the individual for the family.
family for the tribe, tribe for the nation, nation for the world, a nested hierarchy of sacrifice.
But he clarifies it's not for the church itself.
He's very clear on that. Not for the benefit of the unification church, but for the benefit of the whole nation and for other churches. It's meant to be an example.
How does he illustrate how that modeling works practically?
He uses a really simple, relatable analogy. A man who always asks his friends for favors.
Eventually pushes them away.
Right. But a man who serves his friends, sacrifices for them. He gains their loyalty, attracts more friends.
So service leads to prosperity and unity, while taking leads to isolation and destruction.
That's the core distinction. The unification church, in his vision, is there to demonstrate that the path to prosperity is through giving.
And the ultimate aim of this modeling?
To create model individuals, model families, and model tribes. Patterns for the rest of the world to follow.
And for America specifically, helping underdeveloped countries is key.
Yes, he suggests that's how America can remain a leader. Because everything goes in cycles, and those at the top need to know how to serve.
That's a really interesting take on leadership power through service, even at the peak.
It ensures the cycle continues positively, globally. True leadership sustains others.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into America and God's providence, it really leaves you with a profound, maybe even unsettling perspective.
Definitely. The idea that world unity, the ideal state, hinges not on power plays or self-protection.
But on this radical self-sacrificial love from the individual all the way up to the nation.
It's a powerful challenge, isn't it, to
Yeah.
really examine our deepest motives.
Yeah.
Personally, collectively.
Yeah. Are our actions actually aligned with serving others, or is it still mostly about, well, us? It asked us to look beyond the immediate gain.
Toward a much larger vision, yeah. And the sermon closes with that vision.
Yeah.
If America serves the underdeveloped countries, and they follow suit.
The whole world can unite eternally with God at the center, achieving that ideal world.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, our listener, maybe here's something to chew on. In a world that's clearly still wrestling with division, with self-interest, what would it really look like for a nation, or even just for you, an individual, to truly embody that spirit of mine is yours?
To the point of real sacrificial giving.
Yeah, for the benefit of everyone. And what might the ripples be personally, globally, if we actually embrace the idea that the path forward, the path to prosperity, lies in radical service?